Daniel Flick from Sports Illustrated. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us, and I really like the backdrop because you are in Miami.
Real?
And it's not a fake background.
So. No, this is a cool view, man. I wanted to add a little bit of character to the show, huh?
Woo!
Definitely.
We need it. We have none, man. So you brought it all.
Yeah,
that's what we needed.
Definitely. If I'm looking out the window right now and there is snow on the ground, and there's not even a chance of that down there, and I bet you were happy to leave the Hoosier State and to go down there. It's much warmer, I bet.
Yeah, so I flew here. I did Indy to Detroit to Miami yesterday, and my flights got delayed both times because of ice. So I probably got to Miami about 40 minutes later than I was supposed to because of a whole plane de-icing. So, no, I joked with a few guys earlier that I flew out of the snow and I landed in the 70s. So, can't complain. Complain.
Yeah.
So Daniel, to start off real quick, man, just to catch us up, we're getting to know you. The audience is getting to know you. So when did you start covering this IU Hoosiers program? Because I know you cover basketball too, a little bit, I think. So when did you start covering this team, and what led you? What were some things you did prior to covering IU?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of stuff in 2023, 24 with our student paper, and then I also did some Atlanta Falcons stuff NFL-wise last year as well, and then had some things kind of the stars aligned a little bit, if that makes sense. And I started doing SI stuff with Indiana back in the summer, so around I think I started like July 15th officially. So this is technically year 3. It's year 1 where I've had all of my eggs kind of pushed into it, though. So that part's been fun. It's been kind of a wild ride, obviously, right? So it's been a unique experience for sure.
Yeah, to have this be your first official year on the beat, you couldn't have picked a better time to fully cover the team. When did you at any point during this season, and obviously they come off the last year of having great success, making to the playoff, and when was it for you that you realized, okay, this could be a possible outcome for them to make it to the national championship? Was it early in the season? Was it not even until the Big Ten championship game? What was it for you that you finally realized, okay, this team might have a chance to go all the way?
I assure you that it was not after Old Dominion scored a 75-yard touchdown on the first play from scrimmage.
Yeah.
That I thought after the opening quarter, this might not be too long of a year. No, but I would say after Oregon is kind of when that all kind of clicked a little bit. I thought after Illinois, because a lot of the guys that said that week, like, this is where they'd learn kind of where they stand, and they won like 63-10 if memory serves. So by that point, you were like, okay, they're really good. But I think when they beat Oregon, it kind of that was a step that they hadn't made last year, right? Like they hadn't beaten an elite team, period, especially not on the road. They'd really struggled on the road. So I think winning those games, that game in that environment, kind of was a very clear step in early October. Like, okay, this is a better team than last year. They're already doing things that last year's team just couldn't do. So I think that was it. And then, progressively they came back after that game, and there's always a chance of a letdown, and they beat MSU by 25. They beat UCLA by 50 plus points if memory serves. And then they beat Maryland by about 49 points or so. Like, I mean, it was, they were just rolling teams by then, and then you just kind of start to see where it's headed. And then I think when they beat Ohio State, that was maybe the last straw of like they might actually be the best team in America. So I'd say Oregon was a really big part of that, and then Ohio State kind of clinched it for me.
Yeah, so, with this season, this magical season that they've had, all the attention is obviously on Fernando Mendoza, rightfully so. I mean, the Heisman winner gets all the attention, but I've been telling Bryce and the listeners that it's so much deeper than him, and I think that's why you start talking all-time greatest college football teams, because it's not just Mendoza. But coming from you, you're right there, you're reporting. And from your perspective, what makes this IU team so special and putting together this run?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think the fact they never beat themselves, right? Like it's so unique, I think, in modern college football to find teams that play so well together and have no egos, and collectively there's a blitz that Aiden Fisher had against Oregon, I think, that actually summarized this team so well. You have like an All-American caliber linebacker who blitzes from the A-gap, and he angles his rush out and just cleans out Oregon's right tackle. And it opened up a lane for Mikhail Kamara to just flatline and get right at Moore. He got the pass off, but it was a little play like that where you see this is an All-American linebacker who is so unselfish, who's willing to do small things to help the rest of the team blossom. And that's really what this team is. I mean, the way that Cignetti teaches, the way they practice, they're so intense. They're very detailed, and they don't make mistakes. When they make mistakes in practice, they immediately redo things. It's so unique, again, to have a team that's really, really good and never beats itself. Like, I mean, that's to beat Indiana, you have to not only beat the top team in America, you have to not beat yourself while Indiana is stressing you and straining every part of you for all 60 minutes. It's just an incredible challenge that obviously there hasn't been a single team out there who's been able to hang in the ring for a whole 60 minutes. So, I mean, they're just relentless. They punch you and they punch you and they punch you until you break. And I think they have the confidence in punching you until they break because they never break on their own. So it's just an incredible operation in that regard, how well run they are, how well coached they are. They're just a well-oiled machine with a lot of really talented players who play really well together.
What's the biggest advantage IU has on Monday?
I think that's a really good question too. I would say the fact that Indiana defensively has such a good tackling secondary and a physical defensive line, and they put you in conflict in so many ways that if you're Miami, they're going to try to run the football, right? Like that's going to be what they're going to try to do. Yeah. And Indiana defensively has such a good front seven where they don't have to load the box to stop the run. I think that's a really big advantage. And I think, again, the other part that I don't think enough people have really talked about, as I mentioned, Indiana's secondary tackles at such a high level. Those guys they're athletic, they're physical, and they're very, very reliable in the open field. And so I think if you look at like the playmakers Miami has on the outside are really, really good. The weapons they have are, talented dudes who can really win in space. But the corners don't miss tackle. I mean, it's very rare they miss tackles. They run to the ball. They flow to the ball so well. They break down really well. They finish really well. They'll hit you hard. They use space really well. I just think they do such a great job collectively. There have been a few coverage busts here and there throughout the year, but as a general rule, they keep everything in front and then they rally to it. And so I think Miami collectively, if you're trying to beat Indiana, they'll probably have to score upwards of 20, 25-ish points to win. They're going to have to hit explosives, and IU has really shored up its back end quite a bit the last 3 months or so after a few issues early in the season, to where I think that's kind of the main advantage. The kind of area I look at is they tackle so well that Miami's going to have to hit explosives, and I kind of think that's where Indiana wants them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so first of all, man, I definitely just want to thank you again. I don't think I did that earlier, but for coming on. I know you've had a busy last 24 hours, especially considering you just got done. I don't know how long ago it was, but there was just Big Ten media availability. So you were just at the conference, talking, and getting, all the sound bites and stuff like that. So what can you tell us about Wizard? What is that? What does Wizard play?
I'm just as curious as you are. I have no clue. From what I gather, it's just a little lingo they're using to try to explain a concept a little bit easier. I don't know. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see that part. They don't usually talk about plays or game plans or any of that stuff ahead of time. So I think that'll be interesting. And I do think it's relevant too, in the fact that I think Corey Heatherman obviously has a lot of familiarity with what Indiana wants to run offensively, and if Indiana can add a little flair to it, I think that'll only help. So I don't know. I'm just as intrigued. I'm just as curious as you guys are. Yeah,
I seen that all over the timeline, man. Everybody talking, trying to guess what that is and what play that is. Yeah. So we'll see. And talking about that play, as we look on the other side, as us being Hoosiers, we're obviously, very locked in with what IU's doing, but obviously this Miami Hurricanes team made it to the championship for a reason. Postseason sports is all about who's hot at the right time, and Miami's also hot in their own right as well. Had a great path to here. So looking at Miami, you said that what you liked about what advantages IU has. What are advantages that Miami may have that Indiana may need to look for in this matchup?
Yeah, I think Miami's defensive ends are incredibly good. I think you look at Bain, Akeem Messidor, like the guys they have on the perimeter of their defensive line. That's probably the best pass rushing tandem in the country. I think Bain is second in the country in pressures, and I think Messidor is like top 10, top 15. He's not far behind. I think Bain was Conference Player of the Year, and again, I think Akeem Messidor was like first or second team All ACC. Again, high level football players, guys who will be playing in the NFL for a very long time. And I think with Indiana, that right tackle spot's kind of been a bit of a revolving door this year. Part of it health-wise, part of it play-wise, right? So if you're Miami, that's where I think the real cat and mouse game starts is, can Indiana block whoever they put at left end across from the right tackle spot, who I would imagine will probably be Khalil Benson. I think that'll end up being the real key is, will Indiana have to chip? Will Indiana have to use a couple heavier packages? Like what is the adjustment there? Or will Khalil Benson play at a really high level that he's proven he can and kind of mitigate that effect? So that's I think the real challenge is Indiana's played a lot of really good fronts this year, like a lot of great front sevens, but I don't think they've faced a defensive end duo as good as this one. And so I think that'll end up being a really interesting challenge.
How much has, and there's been a lot of like speculation about like, when this game happens on Monday. I want to know, since you're down there and, talking amongst other reporters and stuff like that, how much does, Cignetti and potentially the NFL, how much of that is like an actual conversation, and like how much of that is like, do people believe that at all? Because I'm not asking you, do you think he leaves, but just how much of the air is that taking up down there?
Not a whole lot of it. He's not leaving. He actually answered that, I think, earlier today. He's very, he is a college dude. He's a very, very much so a college dude. And I think the way he operates, the way that his whole organization is around him, I think he's 100% committed to college ball. And that's kind of what he said earlier. And that's one of those topics where I'd take him at his word. Just, again, his dad was a really big role model for him. And his dad was an assistant coach for around 10 years and a head coach for about 30, all at the college level. And so I think he'll end up being a college lifer. I think it'll probably take a lot to get him to leave Indiana if it ever happens, which I'm really not sure that it will. I don't think the NFL has really occupied a whole lot of his headspace. He's very good at compartmentalizing things and just locking in on whatever he has to, like at a higher level than a very high number of human beings on this earth, regardless of industry out there.
Finally, okay? Every time we talk Cignetti on here, people hop in the comments talking about Cignetti should go to the NFL. And I try to tell people all the time, Daniel, a head coaching job in the NFL isn't what it used to be, man. It's not as attractive as people may think it once was. Like, honestly, if I'm a head coach in college and I'm having success, like, why to go to the NFL to be on a string for 1 year, and if I don't win 8 games in my first year, I'm gone already? Like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna stay right here and build my program. So I don't blame him. Cignetti obviously is having success at IU, so why leave? And I wanted to ask you, because we speculate on what we believe Cignetti, what his strengths are as a coach. He has so many of them. Some people may say it's recruiting. Some people may say it's his preparation for the game. Some people may say it's his adjustments. Coming from you, what do you think makes Cignetti so special as a head coach, and kind of what helped play a role and a factor in turning around this program in such short time?
Yeah, I think he's got a really good eye for talent, and it's not only player talent, it's all the coaches around him. It's everybody within his organization. Like, he can analyze things at such a high level that he's so detailed. He can pick up on very small things with people that he just knows. Like, he's got an innate feeling of, I like this guy's mentality, of I like the way this guy moves. I like these small things about his skill set, about the way he loves the game, about the way he views the game. There's so many little things he picks up on people. He can really tell if you're passionate about things. And so I think in his eyes, if he sees you're passionate, he sees that you care, that's already a leg up for him. And so he gets guys who he knows he can mold. He gets guys who he knows care. That's part A of it. I think part B, because he has won and because he's been around such great coaches and has such a great pedigree, there's an air around him that you should follow him. And he does an incredible job of imposing that on every aspect of the organization. He's so detailed down to like the very minute of when a team meeting, like 2:05 we'll meet, and by 2:08 we'll be looking at this play. Or I heard a story. I've got a story coming out on Monday morning about him and the way that he impacts his players off the field. And one of the interviews that I did for that, there was a guy at IUP that he coached who said that he would always come into the office the morning after games at like 9, 10 a.m. and he'd walk by Cignetti in the hallway, and Cignetti would already be like, hey, on play 12, you were wrong on here. You have to like have your hands inside here. Like, it's the best way to describe it is that he's a psychopath who people love playing for because he's so psychotic. He's so detailed. He's so, everything about him is just so fine-tuned that the entire organization around him, there's no mistakes. The habits are incredible. Everybody cares. Everybody's bought in. And so I think in an era of college football where you get a lot of people who maybe are just in it for the wrong reasons, who maybe are trying to, catch a bag and not be there trying to win games and whatnot, he does a great job of surrounding himself with like-minded people, whether that be players or coaches, and then kind of instilling all of the things that he's learned, the habits, all of these principles into everybody around him, to where it's just one well-oiled machine where everybody's aligned and everybody is just executing and operating at a really high level.
Yeah, I mean, to speak to the psychotic nature he's had over 500 Chipotle bowls since he's been on campus at IU. So, he must just have him on speed dial over there at the local Chipotle. But yeah, all right, what's your prediction? How do you think things will play out Monday night, and what's your final score?
Yeah, I do think Indiana wins. I think it'll be somewhere in the vein of like 35-21, maybe 35-17. I think it ends up being a multi-score game. I think Miami's really talented. I've just watched so much of Indiana this year where I just struggle to – in my opinion, they are playing their absolute best ball right now, and they're peaking at the right time, and they were obviously elite throughout the whole year. But the fact they've been able to find another gear in the playoff is incredible to me. And they've just been they're on a mission, if that makes sense. And you really get that feeling when you talk to guys and when you see them and how they operate and how they're working, that they've kind of, this has been the goal all year. They haven't publicly said it. They will say it now. They'll acknowledge it now. This is always the goal, of course. But the way that I view it is they're humming on all cylinders. They are the best team in the nation. They never beat themselves. And I think those three factors combined together leaves me very confident Indiana will win. But again, collectively, Indiana's had stretches this year where you look at it and say, hang on now, they're not invincible. So it depends. And again, I think if Miami can create some pass rush, can move Fernando off his spots a little bit, can force Indiana in some heavier protections, I think that changes the game a little bit. And if Miami can hit a few explosives, you never know. But I do think Indiana wins, and I think it ends up being a multi-score game.
I like it.
Alrighty.
I like it. Before, because I don't want to ask any IU b-ball questions. I don't really like. I'm sorry, they're terrible, Bryce. I'm sorry. Boiler up. That's all I gotta say. But before we get you off here, Daniel, you do great coverage on both. IU basketball and football. So I want to make sure that everyone can read your work and support you. So tell everybody where they can read your work one more time, and tell them where they can follow you on social media as well.
Yeah, man. I will always plug the website. So si.com/college/Indiana. It's our Hoosiers on Sports Illustrated page. Twitter by Daniel Flick. Usually plug what I like on there, and I try not to overflow it, if that makes sense. I try to write what I think people would want to read. And I write what interests me, right? Because like if you're not interested in what you're writing about, then probably won't be that interesting to read about. So really appreciate you guys having me on, and yeah, man, highly appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We told our audience last week that we're going to try to find somebody that has boots on the ground in Miami, and we did. You heard the airplanes going on behind him, and you just look at the beautiful weather behind him. So, Daniel, thank you so much for for coming on, and enjoy Monday night. All right.
Absolutely, guys. Really appreciate it.